In last session, we have seen it's the same thing, Paria. On this profile, actually, I have this JBoss Developer Studio because I use it for SOA trainings and also I quickly switched off there so that there is no problem in the session. Okay, everything is common. There is no problem. I have just added the server JBoss 7, right? So when we talk about JDeveloper, when we talk about JBoss Developer Studio, when we talk about WebLogic Workshop, now all these, if you see, are what? They are built on top of Eclipse. Okay, so you will not find any difference when I will start working on this, right? And if you want, we will use today Anurag's system in order to set up the database and all which we plan today, right? I'll just move into my. I'll just take 1 more minute to get the presentation. Please wait. Okay, fine. So if we remember in last session what we have done, we have created EJBs and we came to know that there are 2 different type of methods that we can add as of now in our EJBs. What are those 2 methods? One is business logic method and then we spoke about lifecycle callbacks as well. Okay, is it clear? So I feel fine. I feel few people have joined today, so they may not get the context. They have to go through previous videos, right? Now, this particular session, we are going to see how actually Interceptor works. What is role of Interceptor? Fine. So when we talk about business logic or when we talk about any EJB, there are 2 different perspectives of looking at it. First one is they are distributed components which will contain a number of methods. Okay. Now, those methods will be called by user, you say client, and container, right? So containers makes calls to the method. Those methods are actually what? Lifecycle callback method. As discussed in last session, all these lifecycle callback methods are different for different type of EJBs, right? So if we talk about session bin, I told you that there are how many different type of session bins? There are 3 different type of session bins, right? In JEE 6 now. What are they, Fariha? Just in order to recall. So that, okay, for example, if you see I'm creating here a project, right? AR version is 6 and now I have taken 7.1 which supports JEE 6 as well. Okay, I'll go for next. Yes, now I'll go for next. Let me create this EJB so that we can map it again. I'll go and ensure that I'm generating application.xml so that we can keep track of how many modules are there in current enterprise. Then we will just have an EJB and a web module which we are following as of now, where our web module we are treating as client to EJB, right? I'll click on finish. Fine. So today's objective is to add persistence layer also, so that you can use this entire week to work with persistence as well as this. Okay. Now, as I told you that we can have different type of EJBs. In JE5 actually there are two types. One is message driven bean and second one is session bean, right? Because they removed that entity beans from JE5 onwards and they said that now persistence will be managed not by EJB containers but by ORM containers like Hibernate and all, right? They just provided JPA API in order to ensure that you are able to deploy your persistence logic in EJB container as well to get benefit of EJB container. As of now, we are just doing session bean. I told you that we need to specify a package. So I'll just go here and give a package, give a class name. For example, this time I'll give class as what? Customer service. Right? And then I told you that there are three types of EJB, stateless, stateful, and singleton. Right? I told you in last session what and in what scenarios they have to be used. Right? I'm just going to reach to the point now. Click on finish. Right? You have to ensure that you are selecting the right client depending on the client view. We have done remote and local, so I'm selecting both of them. No view was added again in JE6. It was not there in JE5. Right? Fine. So this is what is our EJB class now. Now what we need to do is we need to go and ensure that I think Jendra is new. He has just joined. Okay, fine. I'll just go and I have muted him, Anurag. I'll just go and decide how many different type of methods are there. So if you remember, we have specified two types of methods, right? First one is business logic method, which will be called by client. Called by client. Now, who is the client here? It's not end user. It is web client, right? In our case, it is a servlet that we wrote in last session. Okay. It can be any other type of client also. It can be thick client also. It can be a Swings client. It can be AWT client, right? This is not end user. Second type of method that I told you here was what? Lifecycle callback. Right? Now these lifecycle callbacks are called whenever there is transition from one state to other state. Okay? Lifecycle callbacks. Now can you tell me what all are the annotations that we have to use in order to come up with an EJB which is of type stateless, right? With lifecycle callback methods as well. We'll have @stateless, @remote, @local, @predestroy, @post construct, right? Because your session bean, as we know, have only two different states. One is does not exist and second is ready to serve, right? So this is what we have already done, right? So now you are clear that there are two different type of methods which can be there in your EJB as of now, right? Now what happens sometimes you will like to do some housekeeping task before a method is called, before a business logic method is called or after a business logic method is called. Okay. For example, if you see here in our current EJB, I'm going to just take up one method here for sake of explaining you where I want to go now. I'm having here a method. You say public void fund transfer. Okay. Don't go on the context. Fund transfer. Right. This is what is the method which need to be implemented. Control C. This is what is the use case which we have to implement. I have kept it in local interface. Now I need to go and override it. Right. Now see what I want. I want that before this method is invoked, I want to ensure user is authenticated. Right? You got me, right? This is what is precondition. Okay? So you have a choice. Now what you will do, you have a choice. You will go here and in this first you will write authentication code. Authentication. Okay, code followed by business logic code. No, we will not use post construct for here because it is not necessary that every time a client makes call to an EJB, instance will get created. Okay, when instance gets created, when instance gets destroyed, all that depends on the container, right? Okay, fine. So here you see your precondition is before method is invoked, you want to ensure that user is authenticated. That is what you want, right? Fine. So you decided, okay, I'll go and first write here authenticated code and then I will write here fund transfer logic, right? Again, when you're writing second one, it was stateful, then it will call for each object. Yes, it will not call for each object, Anurag, because you cannot dictate on EJB container. EJB container will do what? It will just use the same instance. For example, if 3 clients are accessing EJB, yes, each client will have their own EJB instance. But what if one client is not accessing methods or not making call to the method for next 5 minutes and another client wants to have access to EJB? So container then can decide, okay, I will not create a new instance. I will take an instance which is not being used since long. I will take out data of that client and I'll store it. And now that instance I will populate with content of the new client. Whenever the client wakes up again, I will go and I will get the data which I have already stored, right? So Anurag, you cannot guarantee actually that your container is going to create instance every time in case of stateful as well. Okay? And that's not in our hand. We want something to be done when actually you are making call to the business logic method. Okay? Is that clear? Okay, good. Now you see another requirement comes up. Another requirement comes up, and that requirement is public void. Okay, sorry. I'll go to the interface, and here there is another requirement. Public void receive fund. That's a method, okay? Spelling mistakes will be there, okay? Just right. Now you want the same thing, that whenever this business logic method is also called, you want user to be authenticated. So what you will do? Same logic you will go and you will use in this also. It's clear? You got me? So don't you feel that code is poor or poorly designed? Because redundancy is there, right? Yes, right. So what can be done so that we can ensure that there is no redundancy, okay? And we are able to get the functionality, right? Here, EJB container or in EJBs, in JEE 5, Sun Microsystem introduced something called as interceptors. Okay. Now what we can do is we can write interceptor which will contain common code which you want to execute or which you want to make call to before and after method calls are done. Okay. Is that clear? Clear, right? So what is objective of interceptor now? Pariha? Objective of interceptor is to handle common concern. For example, authentication is a common concern which gets applied with almost all different methods, right? Okay, yes. So in order to ensure that we are able to handle common concern, what we can do? We can go and we can use something called as interceptors. Okay, it's clear? So third type of method, Anurag, that you can write in your EJB class is interceptor method, right? Which will allow you to write code at one place and invoke that code whenever you are making call to what? A business logic. Okay, it's clear. So if I say now objective of interceptor is to ensure what? That it is getting called before any method is called, right? Interceptor helps us to do what? Interceptor helps us to handle common concern. Okay? It also helps us to reduce redundancy, right? It's clear how this could be done with any normal method too. You can do it, but you have to go and invoke Anurag, right? You have to go and invoke that method. But when I say that I have added interceptor to my EJB, it is the responsibility of EJB container to make call to interceptors, right? Before it makes call to the methods. Is that clear? Okay, so it's just an extra benefit that is going to be there in your code, right? Tomorrow, if you have to change authentication logic, you need not move to n number of classes and change everywhere. Just go and change it in interceptors. Okay? It's clear? Fine. Right. Now I'll go here and we'll see how actually we can create interceptors. Right. So if you see, we can create a business interceptor method. What are interceptors? I feel this definition is clear. Interceptors are special methods provided by EJB specification in order to handle common concern to avoid redundancy of code in various methods in a single EJB or also across different methods in EJBs. Okay? Right? Interceptors are supported by session bean and message driven beans. Right? It's clear? Asking some question, please ask it to everyone so that we can understand the context. Okay. Now, I'll just repeat his question, Anurag Paria. What if I do not want authentication in certain methods? Can I disable the interceptor over there? Yes, you can. You can specify that you don't want interceptor to be applied on that particular method. Okay. But one thing you need to understand that when actually you go and create architecture, at that point of time itself you come across non-functional requirements, right? Interceptors basically provides you capability of specifying non-functional requirement over your functional requirement, right? So you can plan decoupling at that stage also. Okay. Right. So there are certain architectural decisions which need to be taken, and yes, if you don't want an interceptor to be called on a particular method, you can do that. You can specify that. Okay. Is that clear, Anurag? Pariha, question was clear, right? That assume that you have 10 methods, right? Yeah, good. Now, as I told you that there are two different types of interceptors that you can apply. It's not necessary that interceptor can only be applied on business logic methods. They can be applied on lifecycle callbacks also. So now you can classify interceptors of two types. One is which can be applied on business logic methods, and second one which can be applied on lifecycle methods. Okay. So if you want to do some common task, whenever there is call to a lifecycle callback, you can go and you can create lifecycle interceptors as well. Okay. It's clear. So at least definition is clear, because we will see how to implement it. Okay. Right. So now if you see, our business logic method can have more than two types of methods. One is obviously business logic method. Second one is lifecycle callback. In lifecycle callback, we have seen that we have to follow a fixed signature, that it should not return anything. It should not take any argument. For example, I'll write here public void init, and I want this to be called whenever there is a new object of type EJB getting created. Okay. So I can do anything. I can do logging, I can do tracing, as I told you that we can do various things here. We can work with costly resources. We want to create database connections when EJB instance is created. All that can be done. Only thing is you need to know annotation, and that annotation is what? @ post construct. Okay. So this becomes lifecycle method. These are business logic methods which will be called by the user. Now we are going to plan and write interceptor. Okay. Is that clear? See, when we write interceptors, we have to follow a predefined step. Okay. For example, here if you see business interceptor signature, you cannot deviate from the signature. Be careful. You can specify whatever method name you want, but your interceptor method must always have the signature where you are passing an object of type invocation context. Okay. This invocation context actually helps you to interact with EJB container and get environmental details if you want to use it during execution of interceptor. Right. It should always return object. Right. And it should be annotated with @ and invoke. Is that clear? So rules of writing business interceptor method is clear? Fine. So here it should return object and it should take invocation context. Okay. Right. Now, another thing that you have to remember here is that you cannot use any other access modifier. It should always be what? Public. Okay. So when you are writing business interceptor, you have to ensure that your access is public. It takes invocation context and it returns an object. And please don't forget it with annotation called as around invoke. Okay. We will discuss about these interceptors in Hibernate also, because Hibernate comes along with its own interceptors. Struts comes along with its own interceptors. Spring comes along with AOP, aspect oriented programming, right? So this around invoke is an interceptor, is an annotation actually for here that tells your EJB container that this method is an interceptor method which need to be invoked before and after a method call. Okay. It's clear. Yes, before and after. For example, if you want to do something before method is called and after method is called, you can use around invoke. You will see once I will write an interceptor, you will see how actually it works. Okay, you can have a chain of interceptors also. You can do sequencing of interceptors also. Okay, fine. Is that clear? Right. Now this invocation context is something which provides you capability of interacting with the environment, like get target. Right, on what class or object this particular interceptor was called. Interceptor call was the result of which method call. What are the parameters of the method which actually invoke this interceptors, right? All that can be done here. And most important method here is proceed. They should always be the last statement of your interceptor. Return proceed, which returns an object if you see, right? So when you write an interceptor, these are the rules that you have to follow in case of business interceptor. Is that clear? Okay. Fine. Now comes life cycle interceptor methods. It's simple with some differences. You will be writing a method with whatever name you want. You will pass invocation context object, and remember it will return void. Here is the difference. Your business interceptor returns object, but lifecycle callback interceptor returns what? Void. Other difference is your business interceptor is always public, but your lifecycle callback interceptor can have any access modifier. Okay? And here, instead of writing around invoke, you will write whatever callback. For whatever callback you are writing this interceptor. For example, if I'm writing this interceptor for post construct, I will write @post construct. Right? Your container goes through this signature. It finds a method, invocation context is being passed. It starts treating it as a special method. Okay? Is that clear? So if someone is asking you what is interceptor, what are types of interceptor, how to write business interceptor and how to write lifecycle callback interceptor, what are differences in their signature, you will be able to reply, right? Anurag? I'm not, okay, fine. Okay, so it acts like an interceptor if annotated as callback. Yes, if annotated as callback, and please remember signature should be what? It should pass what? Invocation context object. Okay? Right? Fine. So this is how actually you will work with, or you will create an interceptor, right? There are certain rules that you have to specify. Can a business interceptor method be associated with specific method? Yes. Okay. Where is an interceptor method defined? At two places. The bean class itself, and you can also go and create another class which is dedicated to be an interceptor. Is it possible to define multiple interceptor methods for an enterprise? When multiple interceptors are defined, what is the order of the invocation? You can control that order, otherwise it will execute in the default order which is specified. Okay, so let me show you now how to create, but there is some issue in my server because I started a new profile. It is saying operation failed. Right, so probably I'll be using one of your servers. It is saying that permission denied. Okay, I'll just go and see, because I have changed the user. No, it's Hadoop user, it's not Niranjan. Okay, so this is the reason why it is showing us this. But it works. We can use Anurag system in order to implement it before I go and create. Okay, so there is some issue. I don't want to download again. Here it takes time. Okay, but what I can do is I can keep it on download. Anurag, your system is ready, right? Yeah, so we can use your system. Meanwhile, I'll prepare my system also. Okay. Fine. So I will write here and then we will test it on Anurag's system. Okay. So everything is ready. I'll just go to fund transfer and here what I'll do, I'll write sysout and I'll write here fund transfer call. Okay. In receive fund also I will write sysout. Receive fund called. I'll save it, right? And now I will write a lifecycle callback. I'll write an interceptor. Let's follow the rules. Public is the rule. Object should be the return type is the rule, right? Name of the method I'll write here interceptor. I'll write here log interceptor. Right? And in this I have to pass what? Object of type invocation context. Right? And last rule is what? It should return something, not something, context dot proceed. This should be the last call, okay, in interceptor. This is also a rule. And it is talking about exception, just go and add the exception. And never forget to annotate it with @ around invoke. And here I will write sysout interceptor called. And I'll save it. Is that clear? Simple, right? Okay. Meanwhile, I'll just go and download the right server. It's under download now. It's clear, right? This is how we'll be writing interceptors. Okay. So this interceptor that I have written is as a method. You have an alternative also. So let me go and write an alternative interceptor also. Okay. To write alternate interceptor, where you can use that interceptor across various EJBs. See, here problem with this interceptor is it can be used only with the current EJB, customer service. But what if I want to have an interceptor which I want to apply on various EJBs? Right? It further reduces redundancy, right? Otherwise, every EJB class you have to go and you have to implement this around invoke, right? Okay. So in order to ensure that you are able to apply common functionality across different EJBs, you have another type of interceptor called as class as interceptor. Okay. So if you see, we have interceptor class. It's a very simple one. Declare a Java technology class, include a public no-R constructor, it means default constructor, and then declare the interceptor method inside that class with the same signature. Right? It should always have last statement as ic.proceed, and then how to use it on various EJBs, that also I will show you. So let me go and complete here. I will write another interceptor. And this time this interceptor will not be written in EJB class, it will be independent. So I'm creating a package here. I'm writing form.myInterceptors. Right? I'll go and click on finish. And then I'll create a normal Java class, new class. In this, I will write, you say audit interceptor. This is what is the name. Click on finish, and then I'll follow the rules. It should have a no argument constructor. So I'll just go and take constructor from superclass. And then as per rule, I will go and add public object, right? And I'll write here audit. Name of the method is audit. And then invocation context. I have to pass here invocation context, right? I have to just go and pass this. Import it. Right? And right here, sysout audit interceptor. And then last statement, as we all know, should be what? Return ctx dot proceed. Throw exception. Or you can surround with try catch also, whatever you feel like. Your interceptor is ready. Now you want to apply this interceptor on this class, customer service, right? What you will do? You will just go to your customer service class, and here you will take something called as interceptors, okay? And this interceptor takes an array of objects, of classes, okay? Right? So what you will do here? You will just pass name of the interceptor class. We have here audit interceptors dot class. Right? If you have more, just put comma and keep on increasing it. So on the same class, if you see, you are able to apply the interceptor. Is that clear? It's clear, right? Pariha, Janendra. Okay. So now if you see, we have seen both type of interceptors. One is class as interceptors where reusability is more, and then you have an interceptor method. If you want to apply interceptors only within the current EJB, you will go with interceptor as a method. If you want to reuse that interceptor across various classes, you will go with class as interceptor. Okay? It's clear? Fine. Let's see the download status. It's almost downloaded now. Still downloading. It's downloaded now. JBoss EAP6 bin. I'll just go and configure this server. Okay. I'll remove this fellow from here. Let me not remove first. I'll go to Window. You will have preferences in Mac here. In case of Windows, it will be there. I'll just go to server. I'll go to runtime environment. I'll add a new one. And I'll add what? This, right? Yeah, original method is still there, Fariha. You have to just run, Fariha. Once you will run, once you will make call to any EJB method, it will apply that interceptor on its own. You need not worry because it is responsibility of container. Is that clear? It is EAP. I'll change the JRE this time. I don't need this. I'll add a new server. And this I will take here. I'll do one more change here. See, runtime is this, right? I have to change that runtime as well. So I'll go for this. And now I'll add my server runtime, which we have added. These are few things that you have to do. Tuning. Just change now. And I need to go here also to my web app. Just check the build path once. So these are the things which we have to do. Is that clear? Let me start the server now. Okay, so there is some issue. I have to check it out because just now I created this profile. Okay, I have to just go and check this path. Is that clear? Anurag, is that clear? Fariha, is that clear? Right. So this is how actually you will be writing interceptors. I'll try again. Now it started, and once it is started, if you see here, customer service local, right? Customer service, all of them are there, right? With JNDI names. So EJB is deployed, right? It's clear. Now, if I want to make call to these methods, what I have to do? I'll just go to test web, and as I told you, I have to go to build path, configure build path. I'll go to project and I'll add the EJB project just in order to ensure that we are getting the client specific jars. Click on OK. And now we'll write a servlet that will invoke new servlet. All these steps are already clear to you people. Class name, I'll write here invoke EJB. Next, finish. Okay, and I'll go to do get. Before going to do get, what I need to do? I'll inject my EJB. And here I'll be passing customer service local. And then last step is just go and invoke the method in do get. That's what I'll do. Any one of them. Right? If everything is fine, it will work. I'll just go and restart it. You know why I'm restarting? Because there are certain changes which are not immediately applicable, right? Now this error is there because your server is still in stopping phase. Right, so there should be some difference. Like immediately if I'll do right, it will not shut down and it will give you that error. It is trying to deploy. It's already deployed and you have your web context registered with this name. Now I'll go and I will access it. I will launch browser. And here I'll write name of my context. Context is /testweb. I'll just go and copy this. Here it will show me 404 because I don't have any index.html file. Okay. What I need to do, I need to go and write name of the servlet. And name of the servlet here is invoke EJB. Right. I'll go here. I'll see the server console, and if you see here, interceptor called. Is this clear? Faria, is that clear? I have, because post construct, right? Yeah. Yes, interceptor is called after post construct. Now every time when you will run the same thing, your post construct will not get called, no? Because that is life cycle callback method. Okay? Is that clear? Faria, is that clear? Now you can tune it as per your need. Okay? Fine. So this is how actually you will be working with interceptors. Yeah. Is that clear? Now what I will do is, if you see here, I'll go to customer service. If I go to customer service class implementation, I'll comment out our inbuilt interceptor. Okay. And I'll save it. Unfortunately, we have to go and restart it because we have made changes, right? Yeah, it called only once because we have not tuned it to work after, right? We have to do something for that for you. And it called only one time because I have made call to it to only one business logic method. Okay, right? So let me go and call the servlet again. It has restarted. Fund transfer called and it called. Is that clear? It is not calling audit because I have not written what @around invoke. So I'm going and I'm writing here @around invoke. This is the reason I told you. Never forget to specify around invoke. Okay, if you are writing business logic callback. Again, I have to restart the server. So I'll be telling you actual use cases also. As of now, I want you to be familiar with things which are provided to you by EJB container, right? Like in next session, I will talk about timer, where you will be able to create timed jobs. Like you will be able to schedule jobs that if you want your EJB container to call something after 4 hours or at a particular time, you say batch processing or logging or creating backups, all that can be configured. Okay. Once you are aware about all this, then things becomes easy for us. Now I'll just go and run the servlet again. And if you see here, audit is called. Right? Now what I'll do, I'll go to customer service and I'll uncomment what I commented last time. I'll save it. I'll just go and restart the server again. And now again I will run it. So now we have two interceptors. One is method level interceptor and second one is class level interceptor. Now if you see, both are called. Is that clear? Fine. Now there are some issues which are going on with WebEx recording server. So probably, probably I will not be continuing here because if everything goes off again, I have to repeat the entire session. Okay. So what you do, try out with interceptors. Next session, Fariha, will be your session, in the sense persistence layer management, where we will go and configure our setup using Hibernate, and then I will show you how actually JPA can be used in order to make your Hibernate part of your enterprise application. Okay. Yeah. Next session, Karia. Though Anthony is trying to get the video from WebEx, which we have done for you. See, class level interceptor, Anurag, is something which you can apply on various EJB classes. Method level interceptor is something which is applicable only on current EJB instance or current EJB class. I cannot use this interceptor on other EJBs which I have written at method level. But if I want to use class level interceptor, I can go and keep this on any class. Okay. That's what is basic difference. Scope is difference, right? So if you feel that there are certain things which actually you want to share among various EJBs, you will go with class as interceptor. So reusability is more when you go with class level. Okay, this is what is difference. Now quickly you have to do this on your system. Yes, it is being recorded. Janendra, you have to speak to Anthony for that. And he will be calling you, I think. You can just type in your number if you want me to pass it on to Anthony, or your email ID. Yeah, all that is shared, Anurag. You go and see the blog. We have SL351. Apart from that, you don't worry about material. I'll make you material ready, material rich. I have huge material collection because fortunately we are associated with Oracle and Sun also. We were associated with Sun and now we are associated with Oracle. So whatever new comes, it comes to us because we take their, you say, sessions for their clients as well. So you see all this is material. I'll give you right material at right time. This is what is the case study that I'll be doing with you. Okay, it's a real case study. Fine, so you don't worry about this material and all. Okay, I'll be sharing it. I'll be sharing a Google Docs from where you can take all these material. And current material that we are following is SL351. Okay, Janendra, you can just me to complete the persistence so that you can work with databases as well today. I'm going to start with that, right? And what we will do, we will configure Hibernate today. We will write some queries, and then probably in next session we will be talking about JPA as well. Is that fine? Okay, fine. So since this is a new login, I have not got that database. I will be using a new database in order to do that. Okay. Do you have to? Yes, Anurag, you have to set up the database. Okay. So for setting up the database, I want you to have some softwares on it. First software is MySQL Server, which you will get from here. I'll just go here and I'll show you from where you have to download and install. If you, Fariha, if you want to see it from beginning, I can make Anurag as presenter and we can do the setup on his machine, including installation. You already have got MySQL Server. Okay, fine. So for just 5 minutes, Anurag, what you need to do is you need to just go and download certain softwares. I will show you the website from where you have to download. You have to just go here. Yes, Fariha, I'll show you now from where you will get all the downloads. Okay, MySQL Server download. Okay. Now, if you see here, depending on your operating system, you'll be downloading the right pack. Okay. Now, here it shows me MySQL Enterprise Edition. What I will do is, I will go to MySQL Community Server, right? You have all the products here. See, Workbench is there, Connector is there, and you have Community Server also. So, I'll just go to Community Server. And if you see, you can go and you can download the community server. Recent one also will go, right? Now, since my operating system is Mac OS, it is showing here Mac OS. What you have to do, you have to download it for Windows if you are using Windows. Okay. Is that clear? You have to download this MSI installer. Okay. Anurag, is that clear? So I feel Anurag's system is quite fast. Shall we go and install it with all the components which are required? Okay, so I'll just make Anurag presenter. So be ready for another 1 hour. I will try to do the setup and show you Hibernate configurations within that period of time. Yeah, Anurag, you are the presenter now. Can you share your screen so that I can show how to download, setup, and start working with MySQL? Good. Right. Now you just go and click on my community server, MySQL community server. Yeah. And download the 64-bit if you have 64-bit machine, MSA installer. 64-bit if you have, you can download. Yeah. Now, no thanks. Just no, don't log in. No thanks. Just start my download. Down you have an option called as no thanks. Just start my download. Just click on that. Yes. It is downloading. Once this download is over, we will be doing the installation. Okay.
Which option, Narendra?
I'll tell you 1 second. Custom. Select custom. Click on next. Click on install. Now you see this is what is the server component that you are doing installation. After installation you have to configure. So during installation itself it will ask you to configure your MySQL server. Take some time. Yeah. So click on next. Next. Now next. Finish. Yes. So this will launch now MySQL instance configuration. Click on next. Detailed configuration. Right. Click on next. Select server machine. Why we are selecting server machine? Because we want it to be a server provider, not developer. Now click on next. Click on next. 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 Okay. Now if you see, default port is 3306. Click on next. Click on next. Include bin directory in Windows path. Select that as well. Click on next. Now specify some password like root. Root. Okay. Root is the user and root is the password. Easy to remember. Click on next. Yeah. Click on execute. So what you did here is you have installed the server, right? Now after installing server, we will go and do installation of Workbench. Workbench is a client that helps you to go and create a new database or check your queries and all, right? It's like SQL Plus is there in Oracle. Similarly, here you have MySQL Workbench. Yeah, click on finish. You can go and cross check it by just going to the start menu, write services.msc. Yeah, go there, services.msc, and you will find MySQL server running as a process. Yeah, just see MySQL server, it will be there. Yeah, it started, right? Now minimize it. Now go to MySQL Workbench. Yes, go down. So it comes with all tools, GUI tools that helps you to download it and install it. No thanks again. And now third download is your connector. Okay, once this gets downloaded, we'll go and download the connector. Now that connector is the driver which we will use in order to connect to MySQL from Java. Okay. Yes. Connector/J. Select connector/J. Now download this also. Right. Now if you see MySQL Workbench is downloaded, just go and run it. Next. Install. And your connector is also downloaded, just install that also. It is asking you .NET, right? Another installation is in progress. So let that get installed. MySQL Workbench. Just go down. Yeah. That Workbench is under installation, no? Yes, click on that. So they have provided single-threaded, a singleton in order to do installation, okay? What is one of the examples of singleton? You can have only one MySQL installation instance associated with each thread of the user. Finish. Yeah. Now you can go and install that as well. You can install, right? Go to downloads. In that downloads, you will have. Click on that icon. Go to downloads, and yes. So now once it is done, you have all the components ready. And if you see on the status bar, you will have Workbench symbol also. Just click on that Workbench symbol. Yes, that one. Now if you see, this is what is your Workbench symbol, ID, right? My SQL connections are there. Now go down, modules are there, right? Yeah, it is doing, don't worry. Let's install now. Now go to MySQL, Workbench is there, right? Go to File. Okay, let it be. Right, I feel all are downloaded now and you have the same components which I have, okay? This is home, if this is the welcome page which you are getting. Fine. Now I'll take the presenter, right, and I will start from here, okay? So those options which I'm going to try out, you can also try out with the same one. Is that fine? So I'll be the presenter now. Everything is installed on your system, Anurag.
Okay.
Okay, so now you can follow me. Now, if you see, what I can do is, this is what is my Workbench. Okay, I'll close this. After closing, I will launch it again. Now here, what I can do is, I can go to data modeling, or I can go to server administration, right? I can go and I can manage my entire MySQL from here. Okay, I'll go to database, right? I can go to file, database. Now this is what is used in order to actually work with your MySQL. Okay, this is nothing but it's a GUI, right? Is that clear? It's clear, right? There is no issue till here. We have downloaded everything, and okay, fine. Now if you see here, I'll just go and write MySQL. That's not there, okay, fine. Because I have installed it as a different user, so that privilege will not be there. Now, privilege is there on this. I can go and edit table and all. Because I have done installation as a different user, so I'm not getting all the options that actually I'm supposed to get. Okay, fine. I'll start. Now assume that you have a database, right? And in my case, database is Sakina or something, right? What I'll do is I will use the same one in order to add it to my Eclipse, because now I don't want every time to go and launch Workbench. Okay, every time I don't want to go and launch Workbench. Fine. What I want to do is I want to ensure that this particular database is there added to my Eclipse itself, so that I can do all certain management from Eclipse. Okay. For this, what I will do, you see, I'll go to Window. I have Show View, right? I'll have Others, And in others, I have something called as data management. I'll go to Data Source Explorer, click on OK. Right? This is just to avoid that extra programs which runs as client to database. They are not required. I'll just go here and create a new connection. I'll select database from here because my developer may not be very good in MySQL, right? So if you see here, Eclipse provides you a common client. Irrespective of database, client is going to be common. So if I teach or if I train my developers to use this small client utility, they will not mind using any database because this utility is going to be common, right? So I'm taking MySQL. Next, I'll take driver. I'll click here and I'll take driver. Whatever is the highest one, I am taking it. ZAR list, right? This connector is not there as of now as build path. I'll just go and add the ZAR. I have it in my downloads. If it is not there, then I have to go and I have to download. If you see, I'll go to connector and I'll select connector J, and from here I'm selecting platform independent, and I will just go to ZAR and I will download it. Okay, this is to make sure that you have the connector with you. It's downloading. After download is done, I'll go here and I'll find my connector here, right? And this is the ZAR file which we have. This is the ZAR file, right? This ZAR file needs to be there in my build path. So I'll go to Eclipse. I will select here my connector and I'll take this ZAR file. The minute I take, you see that error is gone. Now comes properties, which is your connection properties. You are from JDBC background, so I'll just go and write here name of my database. Name of my database which is there here is Sakila, right? Sakila. So I'll just go and I will configure that to my Eclipse. I'll specify here my database is Sakila. Right? Name of the database I can specify whatever I want, MySQL, and here root is the user ID and I don't have any password. Anurag, just now you have configured your server, you gave password as root. So that password you have to specify here. I'll click on OK. I'll click on test connection. Right, if you see ping failed, unknown database, because I have installed this database as a different user. Okay, this is the reason why I'm getting this error. I'm not getting the privilege in order to work with it. Until unless privilege is not specified, I'll not be able to work with it. Okay, right? So same steps we will do on Anurag's system also. One second. Right, same thing I will do on Anurag's system and we will test it. Anurag, I'm making you presenter again. Because I have to tune my system now. The screen was not getting available. I started as a different user. Okay, fine, Anurag. Now go and launch your Eclipse. You have your Eclipse, right? You have, see, double click on local instance. You have local instance, right? Double click on that. Yeah, double click on that. Write the password, root. Click on OK. And it opens the editor. And if you see here, your instances are there. Schema is test, right? So I can use test here. Is it clear? Yeah, this is there. Now the same thing we will configure in our Eclipse also. Launch your Eclipse, go to your Eclipse. You already have launched? Yes. Now go to Data Source Explorer, which is already added in your Eclipse, down. Where you get console, just beside console, not there, not there, console is beside server, yes, right, there, click on that. Double click on that to maximize. Yeah, double click on that. Now, select database connection, right click. New. Go to MySQL, next. Yeah, click on the, yeah, just beside that you have one plus, right? Yes, click on that. Select last one. Go to ZAR list. Another tab, ZAR list. Select it. Select the ZAR. Remove it. Go and add ZAR. Go to C drive program files, not download. C program files, because you have done installation, right? It will be there in program files. Just go to program files. Yes. Go to MySQL. You have a folder here. Yes, MySQL folder. And there you have connector. Select the ZAR. Click open. Yeah, that error is gone. Go to properties. No. Yeah, okay, fine. Go to properties, URL. Go to database. Go to database, top first one. First property. First property. In general, you have first property as database. Change it to MySQL. And then come to URL. And instead of database there, you have to specify test, because test is name of your database or schema. Now write the password as root. Click on test connection. You see ping succeeded. Click on OK. Click on next. Click on finish. Now you see it will add your database here. Just click on MySQL. No. On the breadcrumbs, right? On the left side. On the icon. Not there. On the left hand side. Icon is there, right? MySQL, just beside that. You can expand it. It's a tree view. Yes. Now go to schemas. Expand it. Go to MySQL. Expand it. And now go to tables. Expand it. Right? As of now, there are no tables. Right? This also works as a client to the user. Is that clear? Okay. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So now if you see, this is what is database, which is configured to your server. Everything is there here. Okay. Right? Is that fine? Right. So now I will be the presenter because I have configured my test database here. Okay. When you were doing that, I was configuring that. I'll be the presenter and I will take you forward. Okay. I'll share my desktop now. Now here I have test. I don't have any password. I'll click on this. Thing succeeded. Okay. Click on next. Click on finish. Right. Now I have various tables in this. See MySQL table. I have huge number of tables. Is that clear? It's clear, right? Fine. Now comes how to set up our ORM, right? Now, before we start with ORM, probably today I will not be giving you much of theory, but yes, I will be telling you how to set up and how to start working with ORM. Okay. For which what I am doing is I am creating a new project. File, new, and I'll go to Java project. I will create a simple Java project here. Next. And I'll write here Hibernate 1. You can take whatever JSE environment you want. Right? Next. Now Hibernate is an ORM which comes along with JBoss. So in order to make Hibernate libraries available, you can go and add the server runtime which you have configured. Okay. So the minute you add this server runtime, automatically all Hibernate libraries are also added. Okay, is that clear? It's clear, right? So now you have here project where if you see you have Hibernate JPA, you have Hibernate validator, right? So required ZARs are there here. I don't want you to fight with ZARs as of now, right? Now how to configure Hibernate? Any ORM comes with certain, you say, objectives, right? When we talk about persistence management, there are various ways in which actually you can manage persistence. Okay, I will talk about some of the ways here. First one is direct JDBC. Now, when we talk about direct JDBC, it means you are using JDBC programs in order to connect to database and then execute your queries. Okay. Now, instead of that, what we can do, what is complexity here? It is too much of redundancy, because whatever you want to do, you have to connect, right? You have to get the prepared statement, then prepare to get the result set, then iterate in the result set, create objects, right? So all these redundancies there. And apart from that, developers need to be good in queries also, because they end up writing queries. Okay. So in order to avoid that, so that developers focus more on object-oriented approach instead of focusing on procedural approach, which is there with RDBMS, certain specifications were written, and that specification is called as ORM, which stands for Object Relational Mapping, right? It means object-oriented developer, let him do his task. Let him talk in terms of classes, in terms of reference, in terms of instance, right? Let him not bother about primary key, foreign key, and rest of the things, right? And let RDBMS developer think about their objectives, right? Because if you see, objective of classes and object-oriented model is short-lived, right? Because objects will not be there for a longer period of time. But when it comes to RDBMS, objective is long-term persistence management. Okay? Is that clear? It's clear, right? So they will focus more on entity integrity constraint. They will focus more on, you say, referential integrity constraint. They will focus more on ACID properties. They will focus more on normalization. Whereas when we talk about object-oriented model, they will be focused more on object-oriented principles like inheritance, polymorphism, data abstraction, right? So in order to ensure that these people are doing their work and these people are doing their work, you need someone who can create the bridge so that objects can be treated as tables and instances can be treated as rows, right? That is what is objective of object relational mapping specification. Okay. Now ORM in market are of various types, right? You have so many ORMs today in market. One of them is Hibernate. You have IBTs, you have Kodo, you have Eclipse Link, right? Then you have Top Link. There are various in market. Apart from that, some companies have come up with their own, right? You have OpenJPA. OpenJPA is also an ORM, right? Is that clear? Now, when we talk about setting up ORM, what we need to do is we need to just go and ensure that we are following certain steps in order to do that. For example, first important thing is to tell ORM about configuration of database, because now ORM need to know he has to connect to which database in order to manage the instances, right? That you specify in something called as configuration metadata, right? In Hibernate, this file is called as hibernate.cfg.xml, right? It contains configuration of your database, connection related details, right? And environment of the Hibernate, like whether you want to enable caching or you want to disable caching. Second is very important. It contains mapping metadata. Here, which class is mapped with which table, and all the mapping details will be there in mapping metadata. Usually we go and save mapping metadata XML files of Hibernate with .hbm.xml file. This is what is the extension which is frequently used, right? Third important thing is entity POJOs, right? We call these classes as entity pojos because these classes are candidates that represents tables. Okay, this is what is third thing. Now once you do all these three setups, you will have fourth objective, and that fourth objective is what? Client. How actually now I will do CRUID operation, that is create, read, update, insert, delete, for which you will have Hibernate client API. Is that clear? Good. Now steps that we have to follow. Step 1, configuration. I have already made you all plugins downloaded, so I'll go to new, others, and I'll select Hibernate from here, Hibernate configuration file, next. Keep the name as default. Now here you have to select database dialect. Dialect actually tells your Hibernate that he has to generate queries using what standard, because there are various standards of SQL, right? You have SQL 92, you have ANSI SQL, you have TSQLs, right? So if you want your Hibernate to generate queries which are specific to standard adopted by MySQL, you have to go and you have to specify the dialect, and dialect is something which is mandatory. Okay, you cannot leave this dialect blank. Okay, is that clear? So this one is mandatory. Then what you can do is, rest of them are connection properties. You go and select the driver. You can go and select driver from here. You can specify the connection URL. For example, I will change it. I will write here localhost. I'll write here 3306 and I'll write here test, name of my database. Username is root. In your case, Anurag, password is also root. I have no password. So as of now, I'm writing it here. Is that clear? Now, once you do this, internally it creates an XML file. This is what is the XML file, right? I don't have any password, so I will remove it from here. No, I have changed it, Fariha. Since I have logged in as a different user, I have taken the privileges on test. Okay? Is that clear? Fine. Step 2 is to go and create entity pojo. New class. I'll write here com.entities and I'll name it as customer info. Right? This is what is my entity. Just an example. Int cust ID string customer name. Right? Now when we talk about entity pojo, default constructor is must. So I'll go and I'll take default constructor. Now in order to help you in quickly creating instance, you can go and take other constructor also using fields. And then setter and getter methods are also mandatory, right? Because lots of reflection is there which your Hibernate has to do. So I'll just go and take setter and getter methods. Believe me, your entity pojo is ready. Okay? Where customer ID is the attribute which maps to what? Primary key, right? Because in database you'll have customer ID which will be primary key, right? That mapping information, that which class, which table, which attribute, along with features of attributes on the database has to be configured in mapping metadata, and that's what I'm going to create. And if you see here, you will have automatically generated mapping metadata. I'll select this. Next, I have one class for which Eclipse says that I will generate customer info HBM for you. Click on next. Click on finish. Now go to HBM file, source, and if you see here, you have class name, table name, right? I'll write here table. And then you have ID, which specifies that customer ID is primary key. If you have different name, you can specify whatever is name of the column, right? So this is the area where I'll be taking not less than 3 to 4 hours on Hibernate and JPA, where you will understand various type of mappings which are there. Okay. So as of now, you just assume that there is a mapping file which gets generated because we are talking about setting up the Hibernate. Is that clear, Fariha, now? Everything is there? Good. Now I'll go to Hibernate cfg.xml because what I want is, I want that whatever query is generated by Hibernate, that need to be logged. So I can just go and take property here, name as Hibernate show SQL. Okay. So that whatever queries are generated, they are logged. I'll take this one also, I'll tell you. And I'll take show SQL also. Okay. And I'll pass here true. Here I'll pass update. Why update? In case if tables are not there, automatically your Hibernate will create those tables. Okay. So you can use it for testing purpose. Last important property, which is also again very important. What all HBM files you want your Hibernate to load, that also you have to specify. So that I will do using GUI so that you can see how I'm using CUI as well as GUI. I'll just go here, add, go to browse resource and select the mapping file. Click on finish. Right? Your Hibernate setup is done. Fariha, is that clear? Okay. Now once you have all the resources, last step is to go and write client. Okay. So I can just go here, new class, client. Public static void main, click on finish. Now here I have to write code in order to do some activity through Hibernate in database. Okay. For that I need to know certain APIs. Like in JDBC you need to know connection, you need to know prepared statements. Similarly here also your Hibernate comes along with some APIs. Okay. First one is configuration. Because you need to go and load configuration which is written where in cfg.xml. So for that I'll just go here, I'll take configuration and please understand that it should be from org.hibernate. Okay. Probably libraries are not there in 6.1 because it is 7 and the way it is handled is different. I'll just go here and see org.hibernate. See, it's validated, it's dot CFG. If this is not there, it means that libraries are not there. Okay, libraries are not there. In this version of JBoss which we have added, we don't have all the libraries of Hibernate. Okay, fine. So you do till here, and next session when I'll do formatting, I'll do the setup of my system properly. I will start from here where you will see how actually CRUID operation will work. Is that clear? Fariha, is that clear? You got the startup, right? Okay. And Anurag and Jayendra, you don't worry because we have this in detail. Okay. Right. So I'll just go and